Good afternoon, early evening, ladies and gentlemen and ladies, and my replay crew. I want to thank you very much for joining me this afternoon. Waiting for just to make sure this is working on YouTube. Bear with me just a moment longer. Lavender, I know you're excited to be here. We'll see how many people we get to turn out today. I know this is earlier than what I had been doing, but I felt this was important, and it was a great time to go live. And bear with me just another moment here. Oh, great. It is working on YouTube. All right. There we go. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining me. I know, like I said, I know it's earlier than my normal. If you do end up watching this on replay, I greatly appreciate it. We need to have a talk. And it's not so much that it's a negative. I'm doing great, Lavender. And Carrie, thank you also for joining me. As I titled this, is We Need to Have a Talk. And it's over the events that happened over the past few days regarding Summer Wells. And for some people, I know that is a major trigger, and I apologize up front. But there's some things that we seriously need to talk honestly about. And when you see where I go in this, I think you may understand. But as I always like to do, I like to start it off with my top 5 things. And these are always 5 stories that are in the national news, but not getting national attention, or are from the past and need to be drawn up, or essentially need to be drawn to them once again. So we're going to start off today with an error correction. My last live, I made a mistake. And I want to apologize everybody to that. That was not, but when you understand my mistake and where it comes from, I think it's going to be easily to explain. I had said that the Amber Alert system was from a missing girls case in 1985. That's not correct. The young girl that went missing, Amber Renee Hagerman, was from Texas. And she was the one her story is the one that inspired the Amber Alert system. And the conditions around why she went missing was a national story. And this was back in, she was found January 17th, 1996. Hello, Mutt Dog. Thank you very much for joining us. So I just wanted to correct that. And at the same time, I wanted to point out to you, everybody, what the case was that I was mistaking this for, which was Sherry Mahan. And I may be mispronouncing that last name. It's a simple spelled last name, but it could be, I'm never great with names. This was a woman that a young girl, 9 years old, I believe. Double checking that right now. That at the time she had went missing, there was a first for her in the reporting of when a child or a person goes missing. Sherry Mahan was the first person to ever appear on the Have You Seen Me posters. And was also, I believe, on if you remember back in the 80s and early 90s, well before Amber Alert system and before the internet was a gleam in anybody's eye of having internet at home. She was on milk cartons. And that's honestly where I believe my mistake is that her story and seeing her on milk cartons and getting those cards, the posters, the cards in the mail, and seeing posters. Because at that time, I actually lived lived in Pennsylvania. So I believe that my mistake was my mistake was an honest one. But when my mind went through Amber Alert for some reason, and I apologize, I got to be more careful on details. That my mind went to this. And if anybody wants to read her story, I do have a link I'm going to post in the chat for her story and the fact that she has never been found. She was never found. But she went missing from Butler, Pennsylvania, I believe it was. But this new story will go over all that. But that's the case that I actually mistakenly, and that's the little girl that I mistakenly thought was the source of the Amber Alert system. So we do have some sad news today. If you didn't hear this yesterday from the country music scene, it was announced that Naomi Judd had passed away. There's only 5, and I did make a list, 5 country music artists that have actually made an impact on me in life. And 2 of them were because of what they did away from the country scene, not what they did for country music. Oak Ridge Boys. My mother actually grew up with around the area that Rich Sturban, who was their bass singer, or is their bass singer, grew up in the same neighborhood. The Judds, which was the mother-daughter duo, Naomi and Wynonna, Johnny Cash. And then there's Garth Brooks, who actually had more influenced me as Chris Gaines when he did his album under Chris Gaines than anything else. And Hank Williams Jr., I'm a big football fan, so the theme for Monday Night Football, Hank Williams Jr. So like I said, there's the only 5 people that are in country music that have ever had an impression on me, and 2 of them were outside of country music. But anyway, the reason I'm bringing up Naomi, hello cosplay. The reason I'm bringing up Naomi is to say this. I'm a person that has mental health issues, and I want to encourage anybody else that has mental health issues that to constantly be on top of their mental health and to be working. If they don't have an action plan for when they're having a bad couple days, this is something that I held very dearly to myself and has worked for me. If you don't have an action plan, talk to your therapist about an action plan. Come up with an action plan and work your action plan, because that's something that actually has saved me and gotten myself out of ruts. And cosplay, it's understandable. It's gotten me out of ruts and in bad situations that I should have never allowed myself to be in. So I can say that's a lifesaver for me. And that's just a suggestion. I'm not trying to give anybody any sort of medical tips, but if you have mental health issues, be on top of it with your therapist, and it will help you. So we're going to get to a little bit. We've got 2 topics that are 3 topics that are going to be a little bit heavier that I have in my top 5 today. The first one is, if you were with me live for the last live, I was quite upset. And according to those who are in my Discord, I did a good job hiding it, that my blood was boiling and I was actually getting very steamed. Because I was actually keeping myself away from my mic a little bit further than normal, because I knew that I had a chance that I was going to I was going to possibly holler. We talked about Azan Lisby, who was born in February and who was missing since they were an infant. And if you bear with me 1 second, I'm going to bring up that missing poster for Azan Lisby again. And there's a reason for this. There's a reason for this. So, if you remember last week, I was visibly upset that there was not an Amber Alert issued for an infant. This infant that went missing after date of birth, after birth, and had been missing for 2 months. I found out by following up on this story or trying to follow up. Now, previously, I focused on just the information about the baby. But this week, I'm going to focus on the information about these two adults. These two adults, on Friday, were arrested. You ready to hear what they were arrested for? They were arrested for a different child than the one who was missing, and it was for his I believe it was a male demise. I don't remember what I'm sorry if I have it wrong. But they were arrested for the demise of another child of theirs. I said earlier in my discount that I was going to say something that was going to prove that my outrage, how upset I was over there not being an Amber Alert for that baby, was justified. How much more justified do you need than the two parents being arrested? The two companion guardians of that child, baby, being arrested. Now, I did mention the Amber Alert system, and I'm going to try to be fair to it today, where I was not fair to it last time. But I honestly believe that this was a justified time that an Amber Alert, even though the parent or guardian was with that baby, that an Amber Alert should have been raised. Let's see. The only thing I've been able to find out about Azan Lisby is that, as I had, he was found alive. Appears to be in good condition, but there has been no further release or statements about his condition that I've been able to find. But it was a great thing to find out that he was found the day after. It was actually, I would say, there was the following morning of when I was live on Tuesday and was talking about him. Next, we're going to talk about a little bit about Lily Peters. One thing I'm going to say right now about this whole Lily Peters story, and it is a tragedy about her demise. It's getting deeper and deeper and uglier. The more every single time a news cycle turns around, it's getting uglier. If you haven't been following up on it, her 14-year-old male cousin. Remember Lillian Peters, or Lily Peters. Her name is Ileana Peters. Was only 10 years old, but it turns out that her 14-year-old male cousin, that I'm never going to mention his name, even though the court system is trying him as an adult, I'm never going to mention his name. I'm going to let the courts decide whether they actually are, since if they're going to officially bleach out his name. But right now, he is charged as an adult. I personally believe that this is not actually going to reach a trial. I believe there's going to be a plea deal. He may have to make a statement in court as to what happened as part of the plea deal. Quite often, as somebody takes a plea deal, they do have to do that. Some states require it, some states do not. And what I'm going to encourage everybody to do, no matter what your spiritual background is, I'm going to encourage everybody, because of how much ugliness and is being thrown out there on the internet right now, that whether you like the story, whether you're in shock over it or anything like that, no matter your religion background, send both sides of those families, positive energy, prayers for healing. I can't say that they're ever going to understand what happened, why it happened, but pray for them. Send them, both sides of them, positive energy, because they're going to need it going through this. That's a family an extended family has been completely torn apart, and not anybody, what anybody can say, the news, the social media is ever going to heal their wounds. And most of social media is going to keep on wanting to dig and dig and dig and peck at what the news has found out about the 14-year-old dad's background. Regardless of all that, both families need prayer and positive energy going through this. So I am going to encourage everybody to do that, because it is it's important. It really is important. At least I think that is something extremely important right now. And my fifth item in the my top 5 things, I'm going to mispronounce this person's name, this young girl's name. So please forgive me. I just got a feeling that I'm mispronouncing it how it is in my head, so I'm putting it out there right now. Her name is Lena Sardar Kahil. I'm going to type it into the chat so you all know exactly I have a I must have closed it by accident. Bear with me just a second. I had a photo of her on a poster, and these are all FBI posters. The only thing I don't claim anything to own. I don't own any of this. I'm just sharing this information, which is all going to be covered by Section 107 of the Fair Use. But with the exception of the credit I gave for the photo up front, just to be sure. If you saw that photo on my thumbnail, that was from Encyclopedia Britannica into the Yellow River, which is in China. And yes, if you can't tell, I am trying to stall a little. All right. Bear with me just a second longer here, and I will be more than happy to. Let's see, is this the right one? This is the right one. All right. So this is this is Lena Sardar Kahil. Like I said, I'm probably mispronouncing the name, and if anybody knows the correct name, please, I apologize for my mispronunciation. December 20th, 2021 is the date that she went missing, and from San Antonio, Texas. An Amber Alert was issued for her when she went missing, but was canceled 3 weeks later. She went missing outside of her apartments, which is the Villas del Cabo apartments. She was playing in the playground. The Amber Alert was canceled 3 weeks after she had went missing. But this is what catches my attention. Not that her gone missing isn't its own tragedy. Anytime she was, I believe she's only 3 or 4 years old. Sometimes in life, you're given a passion and you're meant to use that passion to help others, which is what I hope to do with my channel. Even though I do talk about crimes and I do talk about negative or things that happen in life that are ugly, that you never want to think are imaginable or possible. But there's a group based out of that area called Eagles Flight Advocacy and Outreach. They have they have been at the forefront of the search and awareness for efforts for Lena. The organization's founder, Pam Allen, hosted 8 different search parties, which involved community members from all walks of life. But the experience took a negative turn, Pam said to a news reporter or a reporter, when unruly individuals started interfering, prompting safety concerns and a need for bodyguards to search for this little girl. As a result, she decided, Pam Allen decided it was best interest of everyone's well-being to halt any future search events. So this little girl has been missing for 5 months, and they had to stop searching. They had to. Thank you, Mutt Dog. Thank you very much. They had to stop searching. Not because they found her. Not because, it was weather conditions that they couldn't search. We're talking San Antonio, Texas. Even in December, January, February, relative to the rest of the United States, it does not get that cold. They had to stop searching her because people were threatening the group that was searching for her. That's despicable. If you have a group or individuals that are willing to go out there and do something for the family to show that there's the community supports them and is there for them, to make threats against the group, to interfere with them searching to the point where they felt that they had to have bodyguards to search, is a horrible statement on that community and what they thought about that child and that family, and should have never happened. Yeah, Carrie, yeah, exactly. It's exactly how I feel about it. Individuals made threats against the group to the point where they felt they had needed to have bodyguards. That is my top 5 things today. things that stuck out to me that I found on the internet and through news sources that of stories that we've talked about either in our top 5 things or in depth or in Discord that I felt that even though normally I don't cover Pop-Tart news, I felt mentioning Naomi Judd was an important story to mention because of the mental health aspect. And the reason I'm doing this live today is really because I want to talk about Summer Wells. And I'm not going to talk about Summer Wells in a way that she's been being covered lately. There's a channel, and part of me doesn't want to mention this channel's name. But please, Carrie, I know you're going to know this name better than I do. I'm drawing. I can't remember the full name of the channel. It's something crazy and the farm. But this channel, as of lately, has been making some very erroneous statements on YouTube about the Summer Wells case. And it's been getting very close. Yes, my dog, exactly. It's that. You're exactly right. They've been getting very close in statements that came out yesterday to what I have been saying and what my intuition. There we go. Crime, Crazy, and Critters on the Farm. That's the name of it. Thank you, Carrie. I appreciate that. They have been getting very close and have been close to as with making claims that Rose Bly is actually alive. They've been and they keep perpetuating that story that Rose Bly is alive. They also have been, in some sense, fabricating some of the things they've been saying. And for me, it's gotten personal because it's very close to what I believe what happened to Summer. That's true, my dog, but I still want to. I still want to address this. What I have always said, and I've been consistent, as far as anybody that's heard me speak on Summer Wells, which everybody here with me has heard me speak on Summer Wells. And I've said consistently, with exception of one thing, and that's the element of SA. When I very first started following or making statements through various channels, when asked about Summer Wells, I wanted to fight that there was SA activity. I didn't want to believe it. And my mind, my intuition, and all the evidence that has come out since then has changed that. But the reason I'm addressing what they said, and specifically what they said last night, is that it's almost the same exact thing, with the exception of one detail to what I've said all along. And that is that, one, I don't believe that Summer ever returned to the house after they left that morning. And what I mean by that is I believe that when they were done running the errands at the in Kingsport, that she was in the vehicle when they got back to the property, but she never got out of the vehicle. Number two is that I still believe that there was a sudden illness, or like I've been terming and phrasing it, it was a happy accident, meaning that they did not want Summer going to school. And mind you, it was 6 weeks, almost to the day, that school would have started for her. The only different point that I have that they made last night, and I'm going to reveal where this is coming from and how this is all intertwined in a moment. Where the only difference that they had revealed last night, or talked about last night, is that I've consistently said that she was hidden in either an old mine or an old cave that may have been forgotten about. And this cave has a source of water in the, or mine has a source of water in it. Last night they made the claim that, Mud Dog, I 100% agree. I'll even go a step further, that the dad was also involved. Because I've been consistently saying there had been a vehicle switch. And if you saw and listened to what I said in the last live I did, I made a point, a case for when that switch happened. I made a case for when that switch happened and when that trip off the hill happened. That it was that Don Wells had arrived home about 3 o'clock, knowing the time frame of when the video of Summer sleeping on the milk jugs was about 3:09. That was about 8 minutes drive from where that was shot, where that was videotaped, to their home. So they would have gotten to their home approximately 3:17 in the afternoon. There's a very large gap from that time until Summer was reported missing, that nobody has an explanation of, but claims two events happened. Candy, the grandmother, went and took a nap. Candy went and took a nap, and supposedly the plants were planted or transplanted. They are the only two events that are supposed to have happened during that 3-hour window Three, that nobody has an answer for. And Mud Dog, where do we get that time from? That time from is because, as Carrie had just said, um, it was actually from Candace and Candy, in interviews that they had done, information that had come out from them, that it was at 3:09 that video was that video of her sleeping on the milk jugs is from. And other people have traveled from where we can identify from landmarks that of that intersection, where that intersection is. It takes 8 minutes to get to Ben Hill Road. No, there is no, you're right. There is no timestamp on that video. I am going by what comes out of Candace and Grandis or Candy's mouth, of when that video was shot. This is one of the very few points, a few points in the course of the day that I actually believe are accurate. Yeah, Candace. It was Candace, not Candy, or did both of them say it? Because I believe that both actually said it. Maybe they were repeating each other, but I believe both have said it. That it was taken at 3:09. I know it's a very oddly specific time, but at least it does give us a rough time frame of what happened in that 20-minute time frame, 20 minutes time. The there is some debate about that. What because they have been less than, they've been more vague than they have been, with more vague with information or details than they are specific. But it is, that they are giving this exact time of 3:09. It's odd. I will give you that 100%. And in all honesty, that's something I'm going to be looking into on June 15th, because I'm not giving away my plans. I've discussed it on my Discord of how I plan on doing this and what I'm looking into. And I know, I know, Carrie, you're a great researcher and you've been a big help to me on things. I 100% agree with you, my dog. I believe it is bigger than what we believe, and what I believe has happened is that this story got bigger than they anticipated it being. And while the cause of demise, the cause of her um, tragic last moments may have been exasperated by the how fast this snowballed. I believe that we can find out with a degree of accuracy. I believe that we can find out the closer to what the family has been telling, some information based on what we do already know, to try to narrow this down even further. And that's something I'm going to be working on with Carrie and I have already talked. And that's what she was referring to when she said she's researching this. In part, is that what her and I have talked about on for June 15th. We are planning something. I apologize, and I'm teasing that and not giving details, but we're working out details on that still. But getting back to focus on what was said in the past few days by this farm channel, I want to bring out some points, and I'm going to completely discredit everything they have said. I'm going to I'll tell you, I'm going to discredit everything they have said. The persons that have been frequently the guests or have been frequently the guests of this channel have been from an organization called We Can Bring You Hope. We Can Bring You Hope is an organization that is involved in the Wells family. They were trying to be the spokesperson for the Wells. And in some of the incidences that happened, such as some of the police calls to the property, the phone call that duped the she lives across town, Mary, or I'm sorry, about the police being there, and then the Mexican mafia being there. It may not be the Mary. I'm just drawing a name for some reason. I know she's actually in Utah, but they were involved in the family, and I'm not going to say they were responsible for that story of what happened, but at that time they were trying to find out who in the family was the mole that was running around telling everybody some information. Hello, Phoenix. How are you doing? Before I go further, please, yes, Cosplay did mention, and I forgot to mention earlier, if you're not, I see pretty much, I believe everybody does some sub. Please hit that like button, sub button, and hit that bell. YouTube is driven by an algorithm, and it's horrible because sometimes the algorithm favors drama instead of somebody sitting up here and telling the truth and telling what needs to be told. This group, We Can Bring You Hope, has done Summer Wells actually dirty. Regardless of the drama that was around 423 Chase and everything that is spun out of that and what happened, at one point, he was going around putting up posters. And those posters were saying to call the TBI tip line or the sheriff's office, and had those phone numbers listed on there. Locally, you only ever saw posters that were being put up by We Can Bring You Hope. And that all the other signs had disappeared and were replaced by the ones that were put up by We Can Bring You Hope. Now, what I'm saying is alleged. Sorry. But the group on their posters, the ones that We Can Bring You Hope, what we're putting up, we're not telling people to call the TBI or the sheriff office with tips, but we're instead telling people to call the tip line that this group or organization had set up themselves, and they were filtering what made it to the police. Persons that were also Phoenix. I'm not going to sit here. I'm not going to deny that they're having mistakes, um, but everything I've seen and heard from what they're doing with Summer Wells, I believe they actually are doing a great job. I believe they're doing a great job. There's another channel I'm going to mention, and I'm only going to mention this person's first name. His name is Ernie. Purely, if you follow him, you follow so much drama. I have followed so much drama about Summer Wells that I apologize, because everything he's reported is twisted so far around that he has tried to make this out to be his group has tried to make it out to be that a different YouTuber that did not know the Wells at the time had done this when he was living in Texas. Mud Dog, what I mean by they're filtering information is that the instead of allowing the TBI and sheriff's office have every single call, every single tip that was being called in, and uh, um, go directly to them. It was that they were they had reportedly received now by this group, they had reportedly received over 1,000 tips themselves, which they turned over to their private investigators, not to the TBI, not to the sheriff's office. I don't know how many calls actually made it to the TBI or the sheriff's office from them. They've never said, but what they have said is that the information went to private investigators. This group of people, the We Can Bring You Hope people, as well as persons that are associated with this Ernie channel, have been on this farm channel before this Ernie person had been arrested and is dealing with his own legal issues and trying to swindle people into knowing that into saying that Candace is going to come forward in 2 days and tell all of what happened. They had a hot mic moment in which their group, when they were discussing the Summer Wells case on a live stream, said that they were reading from a script, a prepared script of what they were to say about Summer Wells. So what I believe has happened, Mud Dog, and exactly this is why I'm speaking today, because there, with exception of one detail, they're saying the same exact thing of what I have said. The only difference is that I say that she's in I in my intuitive state, my intuitive mind, my gut instinct, whatever you want to call it. I believe she was put into a cave or a miner's entrance that has a source of water. And they're saying that she was buried in a riverbed. It's so close to what I have been saying all along that to me it hits strongly to that. I want to make sure that I have put it out there that I stand away from this group. I don't trust this group, and I don't believe their intentions are good. I don't think their intentions are pure. And again, I don't like dealing with the YouTube street drama, but I felt that this is something I needed to address. So since they had that hot mic moment, what I believe has happened, what I believe has happened is that because their credibility, both We Can Bring You Hope and the Ernie channel, has basically gone ahead and lost all credibility about this at this point. That Thank you, Phoenix. I appreciate that very much. That they have gone out and found a channel, simultaneously found a channel found that they can actually use as a pawn on a chessboard. And they're playing the pawn for what it's worth. They're feeding nothing but misinformation to this group, and this group is buying every single detail of it. They're buying into every single detail that they're being spoon fed, and they're not researching this well themselves. But I've when I found what was going on with this channel, I privately made jokes about this channel and the claims that they were making, especially with Rose Bly. Now, some don't like, some do like. When you're dealing with cases or information like this, that you have people that get great results. Mud Dog, give me a second. I will answer your question. Let me just get my point out real quick. Some will find that you get great results with people that have ability to be able to communicate with spirits in situations like this. And I am a person, as some of you do know, I don't hide this. I just don't make it a big, huge to do either. that I can communicate with spirits. Yes, I do use a spirit box to help. And one of their earliest claims by this group that was the farm group is that they are going around and saying that Rose Bly is alive. And she is this Julie person who is actually a family member, a cousin, and niece, a niece of Candy, a cousin of Candace, claiming that she is Rose Bly and she's alive. And if you've paid attention to what I've said early on, and I haven't done this in a while, and I probably need to do some spending some time with the spirit box again. When you spoke to Summer Wells in the beginning, there were times where you actually had to speak with Grandpa Joe or Rose Bly because the energy for Summer Wells was not strong. And over time, as she's advanced her language, interacted with people more and more, her language, her ability to communicate has gotten a lot better. If anybody understands the spirit box just on a very basic level, there's one key factor in being able to communicate with a spirit through a spirit box. So that spirit doesn't have a body. So how can Rose Bly be alive and be unalive at the same time? Yes, I know I intentionally said a nonsensical word just then. Mud Dog, I promise you I would go back and answer this for you. Which is that do I believe that if Summer drowned? I believe that's one of two possibilities. If you look at the outfit that Summer was wearing in the video, in the with her or the photos that have been passed around of her sleeping on the milk jugs, that was supposed to be her day one school outfit, per Candace Wells. And she was put into that outfit after they went swimming for having dry clothes. Allegedly, that she got changed at H's house. Allegedly, because there's debate of whether or not she actually went into the house that day. Phoenix, absolutely. I'll be more than happy to. I can't say I'm the greatest with it. In fact, I've been out of practice with it a little bit. I haven't done anything with it the past few months. I kind of got cussed at quite a bit the last time I used the spirit box, so I've been laying away from it for a while. But absolutely, I'll be more than happy to. Okay, well, I don't mind putting out there, but that I am just as you see my name on here, uh, uh, um, and the email address I gave in my last live, which is rjrjchannel1 at yahoo.com is the name that I have for Facebook as well. You can search it by either way. I don't think I have a photo of anything or anything like that on Messenger for me. I don't remember if I ever set that up, to be honest. Christy has me as a contact, so she can. If you know who she is, she'll be able to give you that information. And so, good, good. Yeah, I actually didn't mean to say her name. I apologize to that person. I'm glad you know who I'm talking about without giving any more information. Um, so answering Mud Dog's question, going back to it, whether I believe that or believe Summer had drowned. The answer to that is part of what I say when I say a sudden illness. I believe there is two possibilities. The first of one is more along the lines of dry drowning, if you're familiar with what that is. If and I know a lot of people are not, and basically what that means is that you inhale water, but instead of it going into your stomach for digestion and so on, it goes into your lungs, or it gets trapped below the voice box, between the voice box and your lungs, and your body cannot purge it. And because your body cannot purge it, it ends up causing you to um, basically, in a layman way of explaining it, it causes a rapid and sudden pneumonia-like, extreme severe case of pneumonia, where but you can't get air. And that's something that doesn't cause a person's demise immediately. It can actually take several hours. Hello, Lisa. How are you? And that the other thing I believe it was actually the actual cause of demise. And this really shouldn't have happened. Or it shouldn't have been a possibility on that day. Because the weather conditions were not extreme for this area. It was warmer I'll get to exactly what it is in a second. It's important to note the weather for that week. The hottest day of that week was 2 days before. In mid-June for this area, the Tri-Cities area. It's still not the dog days of summer. Even though we're in the South, it's still not the dog days of summer. It's warm, but it's upper 70s, low 80s typically. And it had gotten up to, I want to say 88 ish, maybe as high as 90 a couple days before. And on June 15th, the temperature was only 80. Not the most ideal situations for her to go swimming in a river that's fed by mountain water. I think it was actually more like 81, to be honest. 80, 81, mud dog. But I think a key tip to this is what Candace had said, that Summer always complained about being cold, whether it was some sort of having an anemic, low iron type of thing in a child, or it was whatever the case was. She always complained about being cold. And when they went out in the vehicles or out in the truck or the trucks, she would ask them to roll the windows up because she was too cold. On that day, she was wearing an outfit that was basically a jogging suit. It's a jacket, jacket, and the when I went to school, we always called them the pants that went the swishy pants, because when you walk, they swished. Those style type of jogging pants type of thing. She was wearing an outfit similar to that. So not one that breathes very well to let cooler air to the body and let heat escape. Is the point I'm trying to make. The truck that they had at that time did not have air conditioning. The only source of ventilation would have been opening a window. Carrie, that's actually an excellent question. That's an excellent question. We'll get into that in just a second. So while they were supposedly at the store for only 25 minutes, I believe that time frame for how long they were in the store was much longer. The windows were up in the vehicle, the doors were closed. She's in a tracksuit, basically. And if this is mid-afternoon, as they want you to believe the timeline to be, it would have been in the upper 70s at that point already. With the hot day sun beating on that vehicle, because I don't believe there was clouds in the sky that day. I don't remember there being clouds in the sky that day. And when I looked at the weather up for that, I believe it was only partly cloudy. I believe that the other possibility to the sudden illness of what I'm saying is that Lisa, I agree. I think H was probably outside of the truck while Summer was in the truck, and he was on the phone with his girlfriend. I think he was on the phone with his girlfriend, not paying attention to Summer being all stuck up in the car and not realizing how hot it would get. And the teenager shouldn't have to think about that. That's not a teenager's responsibility to know that kind of information. That's an adult worry, an adult responsibility to know that you can't leave a child in a vehicle locked up tight because it's the temperature of that vehicle within 20-25 minutes. You can look at all the statistics you want. They're all available online. I'll be more than happy to provide a link if you want. But my point is that the temperature of that vehicle is going to go well above and beyond what the temp of the day is. And I think it was either that she went through the dry drowning, or it was a heat illness. Heat illness that would have caused her demise. And that's why I refer to being as a happy accident, because again, like I said, they did not want her to go to school. They did not want her going to school. Yeah, Phoenix, and I'm going to get into that in just a moment. Um, that's an excellent point. I understand 100% what you're saying. But Mud Dog, either if it was 81, 83, we're in ballpark enough to say that, ballpark enough range to say that the temperature in that vehicle, alone in that vehicle, if you believe that they were in the store for only 25 minutes, would have jumped up into the 90s. I don't believe it was just 25 minutes. I believe it was longer. So we're looking at a temperature that probably would have been at a much higher point. Whether it was 10, 15 degrees higher, I'm not familiar enough with that scale, because like I said, you can Google search that and put in the temperature that it was that day, and it will tell you precisely in how much time the in fact, let's go ahead and do that. Bear with me just a second here. See if we can find it real quick. Hang on. Okay, I'll have to add this to this. Let me take a look to see if this works. I'm going to take the temperature that Mud Dog said it was. If it was 83 degrees, approximately 80 degrees, in 30 minutes time, okay, we're splitting the difference between 80 and 85. It goes, the calculator I'm looking at actually goes by every 5 degree increment. It's telling me that the exact temperature of that vehicle, windows shut, doors shut, sealed up for half an hour, would have reached 117 degrees on an 83-degree day at 30 minutes. And I found that on goodcalculators.com. And all I did was type in a Google search of vehicle of a temperature of a vehicle, temperature of a vehicle, and so 117 degrees. Right there, that would have been enough for a child to be in a tracksuit, in a vehicle, no air, no working air conditioning. The car's not going to be on. If the windows were all shut up, doors closed, 117 degrees in 30 minutes time. Phoenix, you're fine. I got you 100%. This is why I believe it was a happy accident. Until the full 2 hour window that Hunter is not able to speak of comes out, We're not going to know exactly what happened, but I can tell you what my intuition says. To go on to your point, Phoenix, yes, I believe either one of the two scenarios of her inhaling 2 tablespoons of water, because that is all that is needed for a child her age, 2 tablespoons of water to cause dry drowning. If what has recently come out that says that and this is allegedly, that H has supposedly said that when he found Summer underwater, she was under the water for at least 14 seconds. That's long enough for her to have inhaled 2 tablespoons of water that she's unable to purge out of her body. 30 minutes in a vehicle that reached 117 degrees. Is long enough to cause heat illness. I didn't witness her in that time frame, so I can't say what happened. But I can tell you that with a certain degree of certainty, that all the evidence, all the information that's known and that we can prove points to a sudden illness, a happy accident. Because again, they did not want her going to school. They didn't want her to expand her vocabulary and realize that not all of all the kids in the class got treated the way she did and started speaking about what happened to her or what does happen to her in her home life. These other channels that are going at these 3 channels, there are 3 entities. And again, all of it I am going to say is a huge, supposedly this is happening, and it's all alleged. But I can tell you from what I've witnessed around Kingsport, I do not live in Kingsport. Do not try to search for me in Kingsport. I don't live there. Everything that this group, these entities are combining to do is playing this channel, this farm channel, like a pawn on a chessboard. And this pawn is acting like a fool. So from Carrie, from what we know, the TBI still has Hunter's cell phone. And indulge me for a moment. A teenager is not going to be, especially this day and age where everybody has at least one cell phone, one way of, one cell device which you can get a hold of them. A teenager is not going to go around with a low-level phone, flip phone, the old style flip phones that don't have a camera, don't have internet access. They're not a smartphone. They're not going to want it. No, it's a different situation if you can only. I can understand that you can only afford as a family the low end, what they consider to be the starter smartphones. We're not talking the Androids, the Samsung whatever, or the iPad or iPhone, the latest iPhone. I believe they're up to what 13 or something ridiculous like that. Some families may not be able to afford that $500 for a teenager to have that type of phone. So even if they had to have the low end and a low end smartphone, the smaller capability of holding data and so on and so forth, they're still going to have a smartphone of some type. And unlike some phones that you can actually still get, where it will have it has GPS. It's mandatory that this phone has GPS. Your non-smartphones that can only make a call and text, they still do actually make them because some people do prefer them. For a long time, they weren't making them with a camera, but now they make them with a camera, but still have no GPS. So I believe that that 2 hour time frame that Hunter is not allowed to speak about has everything to do with the fact that his phone was the only source of tracking and some tracking where they were when they were at a location and for how long they were at that location because let's not forget the Subaru was in Jonesboro. The age of the vehicle they had did not have the technology that newer vehicles have that cause them to be tracked by an assistance system. Right, Phoenix. I'm not doubting. I'm not doubting that that could have been a situation where it would have been a great phone for a teenager, and for some adults that cannot, because of circumstances beyond their control. Circumstances beyond their control would have had not had the ability to have the most latest Android. But I'm saying that a teenager, out of a sense of a social status, would not have been caught with anything less than the starter uh, 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 phone, the starter smartphones that you can get through like AT&T, or I don't think they're AT&T anymore, T-Mobile, or through even through Straight Talk. Those type of phones that a teenager would not have been seen without something, even at that that at the minimum. And then the parents would have had, that free phone. Lisa, I can understand. Sometimes I hate, absolutely hate, and abhor technology. But here we are in talking through technology, and my goodness, my I wouldn't be able to do my job without it. But it doesn't mean I don't like it all the time. I built my own computer. I built my own desktop. But sometimes technology that I can't control or do anything with is just gets so confusing and ridiculous. But yeah, almost every single phone comes with GPS technology. There are some phones, some of the flip phones that they're making, the burner type phones that you can get real cheap. They still make those, and those burner phones don't have GPS. It's becoming harder to get them, but they still do make them. What I believe happened is that originally the wells did not have um, the greatest technology of phones. Let's put it that way. And up until after Summer Wells went missing, when their phones were searched and they say that information went missing from them, that they actually upgraded their phones, and I believe it was to the most recent possible models, and that was back June. That was mid July last year. I don't believe that I believe that the Wells had a couple of phones, and when they went out, they would take burner style phones with them because they had more than what the contact information for their boys who they left at home. I believe they left the better phones with the boys. And that sounds like me. Phoenix, that sounds like me. So, Mud Dog, I'll answer that in just a moment. So I believe that in this in this situation, I believe the GPS, the phone that would have had GPS was in a very orchestrated manner left with the boys. Well, what do I mean by orchestrated manner? I'm saying it's intentionally left with the boys. I'm saying that the fact that beyond what I said, that the reason Don Wells would take the Subaru and leaving the and which was supposed to be Candace's vehicle, and, but and the reason that she took the Suburban that day, as well as took the phone that she did, leaving the other one with the boys, all had a piece in the puzzle of not being able to trace their the exact location There was something planned for that day that goes beyond what actually happened or what I believe actually happened. And what was planned, fate interfered with and didn't allow to happen. So, as tragic as her disappearance and ultimately what I believe to be her demise, at the same time, it was a godsend to Summer. Phoenix, I'm getting back to your question that you answered a few moments ago. Do I believe that there was a reason they did not take Summer to the hospital? Paraphrasing it fairly, I'd say pretty fairly. I believe Candace wanted to, based on the advice of Candy, the grandmother, wanted to take Summer to the hospital. Called Don that day, explained what was going on, and Don convinced her that no, 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 she's fine. She's just sleeping. Bring her down to me, and you'll see she'll be fine by the time she gets here. When she gets here and hears me calling her and waking her up, she'll be fine. When that didn't happen, out of sheer panic, is when the plans changed. Out of sheer panic, because they couldn't wake her up. Instead of taking her to the hospital to see if there was anything they could do at the hospital or what they could do for her at the hospital, they went and hid her, as I mentioned before, either in a cave or a miner's opening. And there's a lot of them in this area. Let me tell you, there is a lot of them. On the northwest side of Hawkins County, there is a old quarry. They're in the mountains just off their property. On the backside of the property that I-81 runs, there's a lot of mines and cave openings that bears use, that I can almost guarantee homeless people use. That it could very easily have been the find one or know of one that not easily accessible and hide her in. But yes, they had an opportunity to take her to the hospital, but chose not to. I don't know if they had insurance. I believe it has been asked, and you only get conflicting answers of whether or not they had insurance on the kids. It's one thing if you're an adult and you choose not to have insurance. It's a whole different thing than not have insurance on a kid. My gut instinct on that is that they did not have insurance. Don was the primary source of income, and he was a subcontractor. I don't believe they had insurance. Phoenix, did I answer your question? So, is it possible law enforcement is involved in missing children? That is a rumor that has gone around, and people have tried to kick that around in the past. I don't know, 4 months, maybe 4 months ago, 3 months ago. Within that time frame from then to now, trying to put out there that Hawkins County sheriff has bad relatives, let's just say. Northeast Tennessee is an area that when a family settles in this area, it does so for generations. And I don't mean that in the creepy, rumored Appalachian Mountain, you're going to marry your cousin type of way. This part of Tennessee has its own pace of life. And it becomes part of you, and you become part of it. So every family has a bad seed or two. No, you're right, Lisa. I'll touch on that in just a moment. Um, do I believe the law enforcement in this area had anything to do with Summer disappearing? No, I really don't. I think that just somebody wanted to start some trouble, uh, specifically on YouTube, and it never really ran anywhere. Lisa, you're exactly right. Um, the hospital cannot turn you away. They'll treat you, and they'll issue you a bill or work out a payment plan or whatever they have to do. Don Wells' binge habits were more important than the health of his daughter. Think about that for a minute. Think about what I'm really saying here. Don Wells's binge habits were more important than the health and welfare of his daughter, who he made statements that she was his world, and vice versa. And that there are moments when he had to correct her and he had to apologize to her because it hurt him more than it actually hurt her to correct her. I'm telling you right now, with the information that went around Kingsport and this area, the Tri Cities area, and it was not hid, and people did not hide this from day one. Then they realized who this was, and that Summer Wells, who her dad was. It was all over the streets that Don Wells was out looking for his next fix. And when I mean in his next fix, he was looking to go on another binge. He was looking to go on another binge. Now, granted, I will tell you that is based off of a rumor that went around Kingsport. So that is allegedly. Carrie, you're right. You're 100% right. He wasted no time getting his next fix. I normally try to have my streams be, yeah, about 2 hours, no more than 2.5 hours. I've said pretty much what I had targeted to come on here and say today. So I'm going to open it up to anybody has any questions. And if they don't feel like typing it all out and they want to jump up here on stream, I'll be more than happy to drop a link so you can ask me directly if you wish. Mud Dog, in most cases, yes, I would agree with you. Rumors run rampant. In this case, as far as her being pregnant, that was a rumor that she categorically denied. And considering we're 10 months now removed, there's been no birth of a child. Thank goodness. No, guy, you're fine. Everybody's fine. Don't worry. This was I didn't plan this to be a long stream or anything. Like I said, I try to keep my streams about no more than 2.5 hours. So I'm not like shocked that I've said everything I wanted to say in an hour and 45 minutes. But I'm going to give you guys some time to talk and um, address any questions you may have that I might be aware of. Uh, Carrie is another local, like I said before. So if there's a question I might not be aware of, maybe she might have an answer. Yeah, Mud Dog, I've heard that that rumor from when I heard it was right after, maybe no later than September, October, September that she was pregnant. And at that point is when I heard that she was 3 months. So, like I said, she's not had a child. She's not pregnant. CP, cosplay. I am grateful that you are listening, even though you're not talking. I am grateful that you're listening. I know you have had an exhausting end of the week. You have a very valid reason for that, and you show what a good parent is to preteens and teenagers. Mud Dog, I think that was to you. Are you saying this is a new rumor? What I'm, if you're referring to what I'm saying, what I've said is it's all come out. It started coming out. The information really started coming out last weekend, but last night it really hit a head, or came to a head, so to speak. Um, yeah, Mud Dog, I've not heard that rumor about Candace. As far as I know, she is actually not in Beach Creek area. She's not on Ben Hill Road. There was a rumor or time where she was talking about going into a rehab, but has not gone into rehab. And I believe that rehab facility was in Nashville. But from what I have heard since then, that Candace is not in Tennessee. Yes, that's exactly what I've heard. Is that she's staying with a friend right now that is not in Tennessee. The only one that's on that hill right now, Ben Hill Road, for related to the wells, is Candy. Cosplay. The only thing I've ever heard about that little girl that was supposed to stay there, that was I believe it was the week before or the weekend before Summer went missing, is that the little that something spooked the little girl about Don Wells, is what her mother had said. Something about Don Wells spooked her, and she didn't want to be there. No, yeah, there's been absolutely no mention of that little girl, other than that one instance. It's she's been has nothing to do with anything other than getting being there and being spooked, and it's been specifically linked to being Don Wells, not like some just something happened on the property that scared her and she didn't feel being a kid can't more like one of like say one of the dogs scared her or something like that. Nothing like that's ever been said. It's always been specifically to Don Wells. Something about Don Wells spooked her. Yeah, cosplay. I've said that all along. There was yes, but um, which is the whole entire channel, the group of channels that is now saying that. I'm outright saying, do not trust anything they say. Do not trust anything they say. There's three channels that are and groups that are either on Facebook or excuse me on YouTube or not on YouTube that are intertwined with each other. And they are out there trying to twist this and warp this around, claiming they know what happened and they have a confession from Candace and all this other stuff. Cosplay, that's what we've been talking about. It's exactly what we have been talking about. Is this? That's what we've been talking about today. Is these two channels and this other entity is using the one channel we had mentioned, crime crazy, and something about being on a farm. I don't remember. Trying not to remember that group, that channel, to be honest. Um, where they're using that they're using them and playing them like a pawn because it's nothing but misinformation. What they are saying is they're following a script that somebody wrote out. There you go. That's another way of saying it, Carrie. That is another way of saying it. Somebody wrote out a script to try to twist and manipulate all the details. And the reason I'm addressing it is because, as you guys know, again, I said this earlier. It is hitting extremely close to what I say would happen this summer. And while I try not to address drama because I want to be above and beyond drama, this is too close. And what they're doing and how they're doing I felt that I had to say something. I had to say something about them. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you very much. That is something I try to strive to be, and it just like I said with what they're saying, and especially the way and I didn't realize this at first, and to be honest, I didn't realize it. It was clear as it was until I heard it this morning on Michelle After Dark. And I have nothing against Michelle After Dark. She is actually a wonderful person to listen to on information about Summer Wells. Thank you, cosplay. I appreciate that. Michelle After Dark is a wonderful person to listen to. And if you don't know who I'm talking about, she's the one with the two dogs, and she walks through a wheat field quite often. With her dogs, and we'll talk about Summer Wells or other missing kids. I know she's done Michael Vaughn, Monkey Vaughn, as well. She did some information about Lily Peters. So do I, Lisa. So do I. Um, but it just, with all the drama that the group that I was focusing on and saying they're intertwined each other and they're following a script. 1 second, guys. With the group that's following a script, um, they are they're on the edge of dangerous territory that they don't even understand that they're perpetuating with all the misinformation that they're putting out there. Carrie, thank you very much. For those that are on my Discord, you know that quite a bit. You've seen quite a bit of that. I bounce ideas that absolutely might sound crazy off of Carrie, and we'll talk it out, and we'll come and realize that it's not as far fetched and crazy as my gut instinct is. And I do that with anybody on my Discord. There is some content that I put on my Discord and discussions we have on my Discord that will never appear on YouTube or on Facebook. It's only in my Discord. Do I think that the law would be running some of this channel's S? No, no, I don't believe it has anything to do with being a pawn or a mouthpiece for of misinformation from the law. I believe it has everything and only to do with these other channels wanting viewers to be watching them and trying to take attention off of other people, creators that are actually putting factual and good information out there. There are some channels that I refuse to watch as well. And then there are channels that when it gets brought to my attention or I find accidentally, I will pay attention to what they say for a few moments. And if I think they have any value, I'll keep watching. but I try to keep away from the drama channels. And you see even some of the channels that I think are really good, if they start to get into drama, I lose interest in what their content is that night and I turn it off. Yes. Yes. Yep. Like I said, like I was mentioning, this channel is intertwining themselves with a group that has already had hot mic moments and has had been having people interviewing people that are from the group We Bring You Hope on their channel, which is directly known to be tied to the Wells family. So again, this channel is being played for as played as a pawn on a chessboard. They're being used to be a mouthpiece of misinformation. And this channel or whatever channel that they can get as mad as me at me as they want. I don't care. This is the one and only time I'm going to be addressing this. I don't care what they say in response to this. If they say anything at all, if they acknowledge this at all, I don't care. But just the fact that they're extremely close to what I had to say and said from the get go, before they go and twist any more information about close to what I said about what has happened with Summer or to Summer, they that it was needed to be addressed today. Trust me, if you knew what I actually had planned and said I had planned, I believe it was either yesterday or Friday night that I said I was going to be going live today and what I had been planning, it was far different from what I'm doing today, guys. It was not going to be this. Correct. So, Carrie, correct. Um, well, with that being said, like I said, I try to stay in 2 hours, no more than 2.5 hours. Is anybody have any more questions before I end the night? Lisa, thank you for coming out tonight and listening this afternoon. I know it's earlier than I normally am on, but occasionally I promised somebody that lives overseas that I would try to get have time where have a once in a while have a time where or they could actually listen to, even though they may have fallen asleep while listening, that they would be part of my live. So that's why it was a few hours earlier than normal. Um, Mud Dog, thank you. Thank you. That's one of the things I try to do is just keep a very level head about what's going on. Thank you, Phoenix. I appreciate that. Thank you for everybody coming out and listening. Like I said, I know that normally, I really get deep into some intense things, but This wasn't about that getting intense with getting deeply intense on things tonight or this afternoon. But again, thank you everybody for coming out. Please remember, hit that like button, that thumbs up, hit the subscribe if you don't haven't already subscribed, and the notification bell. And I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of the afternoon and evening. Good night, everybody.